Hello everybody, VG Time back again with another deck profile. Right now, the current format, the narrative is that you play red, you play blue to counter red, every other color is not good. And I understand why people think that because they're looking at tournament results. They're seeing how red send SS4 and good blue sand deck is kind of being very dominant in the format. But I don't look at formats like that. I go, okay, those decks are winning. What can I learn from those decks to incorporate into decks that I'm currently playing? Or what is it that those decks aren't good at and can I attack those angles? That's how you should approach your deck building, especially if you're more of a rogue deck builder such as myself. So we're going to look at a deck that I have been playing, and that is none other than my favorite black leader. Now, heads up, this is going to take a little bit because this is a 60 card deck. And on top of that, a lot of new cards, some nuances. I'm also going to go over my Z deck and my side deck that I brought with me to the shop championships. So you can see what exactly is going on. Link down below for if you just want to see the deck by itself. Just leave your boy a thumbs up so that the deck profile could get out to more people and possibly to those who want to sit through the whole process. So why set 12 Shroom Salsa? First of all, again, as I mentioned, my favorite black leader. There's a new Shroom Salsa, it's pretty cool, but the problem with it is that it does not generate a large enough hand size, which is something key to all the best decks in the format right now. Red Sin, early large hand size, SS4, even bigger hand size. And even the blue sand decks, once they stabilize and start getting going, they also generate a decent hand size. And then Trunks Cheetah has always been known to have a large hand size. So if you're not generating a large hand size to be able to out combo them and combo with them, then you are not going to be successful in this format. So you have two options: be able to generate your own large hand size or be able to restrict the amount of cards that they get to have. If you see my live streams, you saw me play like a slug-based Bardock's crew deck and saw how I was able to restrict all the cards these people were getting and then grind them into submission. Well, this guy goes the opposite direction. I typically outdraw every single person I play against. One exception was like this one launch player, but it was really by like 2 cards in hand. It didn't really matter too much. That's why the deck is 60 cards. And with that comes a lot of Z energy generation, as well as this cool new mechanic that they gave this archetype to be able to play on your opponent's turn, which is something I love doing myself. So just to rehash what the original leader does, when he swings, he draws a card. And then when you combo when he's in battle, you get to warp up to 1 card. Well, you get to warp up to 1 card from your opponent's drop area. If they don't have any battle cards in their drop area, you draw a card. Because Z energy generation usually prevents the drop area from being full in the first place. So you are able to, at least in the early to the beginning of the mid game, be able to combo freely, not lose any advantage while you generate your own Z energy. Has 2 different awakening conditions, both of which are very relevant. The first one is that if your opponent has 4 or more cards in warp. So if your opponent is a heavy comboing deck, you're going to be able to get those 4 or more cards. You can also force those 4 or more cards by other means if the game is taking too long. And then when you do so, you untap 1, draw 1. You don't take life down to a particular amount. So there's actually situations where I've woken at 7 or 8 life just because I was able to generate those 4 cards in warp. You can also wait until you have 4 or less life. So there's certain matchups where you're never going to be able to get those cards in warp, so you just got to take the hits, get there as quickly as possible. On the backside, you have the same draw and combo effect, but he gains the extra activate main where you can pay 1 if they don't have any battle cards in their drop, and play a Demon Realm Race, Demon God, or Evil Wizard from your deck or hand for a cost of 1. If it costs 2 or less. The engine we're playing is the new Shroom Salsa engine and is deceptively powerful, and I think that a lot of people haven't really given it a really fair shake, but it's very strong. So we start out with enablers. First one is Demon God Salsa Dark King Vanguard. So he's your top 5 searcher for the archetype. He gets Demon Realm Race or Demon God, and then after you shuffle your deck, you warp up to 2 cards from the top of your deck. Continuing with the theme, we have Dark King Mechikabura, Final Battle at Hand. He's Overlord once per turn, has an auto when you play him, you draw a card, and then you warp up to 2 cards from the top of your deck. And then he has an activate main where you can pay 3, 2 colorless, 1 black, to look at the bottom card of your deck, and if it's a servant, you get to play it. Very important ability, especially mid to late game. Then we have 4 copies of Demon God Shroom Dark King's Vanguard. This guy, if you have 2 cards in the warp, you get to play him for 1. And when he swings, you get to draw a card and warp up to 2 cards from the top of your deck. And that's an auto limit 1, so having multiple of him does not actually benefit you on the table. So the reason why these enablers are important because there's certain cards you want to have in your warp. So that goes to the payoff. We have 4 copies of Demon God Shroom, 4 copies of Demon God Salsa Stormclad. So Shroom and Salsa are a form of arrival, so to speak, right? Except for instead of arrivaling from your hand, you arrival from the warp. When you combo the opposite card name, you get to pay black, warp a card from your hand, and play this guy or play one of these guys from the warp. So in the case of Shroom, you kind of want to make him on your turn because his effect happens when he swings. And Salsa, you don't care which turn you do it because his effect happens when you play it. So in the case of Shroom, when you swing, you get to warp the top card of your deck and warp one of your opponent's battle cards will cost 4 or less. Both of these guys are servants, so they're really 20k swingers. And this one, when you play, you get to warp the top card of your deck, warp a card from your opponent's hand. The big payoff card though is Demon God Shroom and Demon God Salsa Unending Nightmare. This card is insane, and I think it does not actually get the credit it deserves. So this card says if you have 3 or more energy and 2 or more cards in your combo, you could pay double black, play this guy. Your opponent gets to warp a card from their hand and warp one of their battle cards, ignoring barrier. Your opponent chooses these cards, but you're playing black. You usually have ways of getting rid of everything else around it so that you are forcing them to be able to choose the card with barrier that you want them to get rid of. It's a 25k printed, but it's also servant, so it's a 35k double striker. And again, you can make it on your opponent's turn. So there has been times where the opponent did not respect that. I think of decks like Red Sin, where they think that because their boss monster has barrier, they can just swing in and do whatever. And then you combo 2 cards, make this guy and punish him. He has a permanent that says if you will leave the battle area or the combo area and be sent to the drop, you put him on the bottom of your deck instead. The other payoffs for going to the warp is one of my, if not my favorite card from the new set, Dark Broly Heartless Berserker. This card is amazing and basically made for this archetype. So it's overwhelm 6. 0-0, but you're not really worried about it being 0-0 because you still get value off of comboing it. And then while it's in your warp, if your leader is black, you can pay 2 energy to play it from your warp. Cool thing about that is that when it's played, period, doesn't matter how, you get to warp one of your opponent's battle cards, doesn't care about size or anything like that. And then they have to deal with a 30k beater. Then we have SS Trunks Powered Awaken, the OG to this type of deck. If leader card is black, you could pay double black if you have 8 or more cards in the warp to play this guy out from the warp. 20k dual attack with deflect, and has a permanent that if it would be removed from the battle area, you remove from the game instead. When it swings, it is able to put 3 battle cards that are black from your warp into your drop. So you get to put back up to 6 cards to probably overwhelm and things of that nature. So Trunks Time Regulator, it's a free overwhelm of overwhelm 3, and you get to draw 2, warp a card from your hand. That plays really well with your main Z battle card. So other than having these cards as payoffs, you also have cards that care about how many cards are in your warp. We already went over one, which is the SS Trunks Power Awaken. He cares about having 8 or more cards in your warp. We also have the Shroom that cares about having 2 or more cards in your warp. So then we get to our primary body negate, as I like to call them, Supreme Kai Time Labyrinth Unleashed. So this card cares if you have 3 or more cards in your warp, and if you do, you get to play her for 1. She's a counter attack that negates the attack and plays herself, and then she's able to warp one of your opponent's battle cards until the end of the turn when it comes back with the skills negated. Another card that cares is Dark King Mecha Gabora Imminent Annihilation. This guy cares if you have 6 or more cards in your warp. If you do, you are able to play him for 1. He also has Overlord, and so he combined with this allows you to recycle your cards as need be. He also has an auto limit 1 that when he swings, you are able to combo with a non-super combo Demon Clan or Demon Rail Race from your warp. That's good for generating Z energy, and because it's a non-super combo, it could actually combo with the 110k for free, so it could be up to a 25k beater. So our leader thrives on comboing. So we have comboing matter cards as well. First one being Supreme Kai Time Guardian Space Time. If you have 5 or less cards in hand when you combo this card, you are able to give it an additional 5k gravy. So when it attacks or combos, you get to place 2 black cards from your warp into the drop. We have our super combo, Demon God Salsa Dark Combination. The 4th super combo is Bibbidi Primeval Conjurer. It used to combo for like infinite combo power. Now it combos for 15, which is still good. Metric Bird of Broken Seal. This card right here, being tutorable by your leader, is almost criminal. When this guy is played, you are able to name a character name and an energy cost, and your opponent cannot play characters of the chosen name and cost. Power Overseeing Time. Matt saying Brainwash no more. We have Mirror Creator Absorbed. Supreme Kai Time Brainwash. Oh my god, this card has been overperforming. So a lot of people wonder, why do I play this card? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, it's a 50k double striker. Before the errata to what, or the rule change to what exactly Ultimate does, this card would have been absolutely insane in the deck. But right now, it's just very, very good. So you pay black as an activate battle, you play it. Then it has an activate main / battle where you can pay 1, remove it from game, and put a floodgate on your opponent. And the floodgate is very powerful because the deck is deceptively aggressive, right? If you can get your opponent down to 2 to 1 life, when you activate this, if they attack with anything other than their leader, they have to crit a life. We also play 4 copies of Power Burst, and then 2 copies to support the Dark Empire, which is our token negate. So that is the main deck, all 60 cards of it. So now we're gonna look at the Z deck. So now we're taking a look at the Z deck. So one of the main reasons why I was so hyped for it, besides the fact that the leader just naturally works with Zenkai, is that they printed a Z leader for the deck. Demon God Shroom and Demon God Salsa Imminent Annihilation. This card is very, very powerful. It doesn't apparently seem like it, but it is very strong. So it has inherent double strike as a 20k, so it's already bigger than a lot of people could just naturally swing into. And it also is a natural threat to every leader, even all the Z leaders except for the SS4 one. And then it has an activate main and an activate battle, both of which are relevant. So the activate main once per turn is that you can send a Z energy to your drop in order to reveal the bottom card of your deck. And if it is a 3-cost Shroom or Salsa with Servant, you get to play it. And then we have the activate battle that says if this card is in battle, you get to combo with 2 Demon Realm Race or Demon Gods that are not super combos from your warp. So now we're going to the card that everybody kind of sleeps on. Demon God Demagrub Begrudging Ally. So this card right here seems weak at first. There is no deflect on it, there's no barrier on it. They're unique, so you can't stack multiple of them, but you understand once you see the effect, which is when you activate Overwhelm, Dark Overwhelm, or play a battle card from your warp during your turn, you get to draw a card and warp on your opponent's battle cards called 6 or less. That deals with everything but the biggest boss monsters that we have out there. It is also hard to burn off because it gets 2k for each of your Z energy. Then lastly, we have 2 copies of SSB Vegeta Surrounding the Impossible. This card right here helps us to get to certain life thresholds. And now I'm gonna go over the side deck that we had I used for the tournament. Explain the cards that are in there so it can give you inspiration. I'm not saying this is the definitive side deck for the deck, but it is definitely one that worked out pretty well, all things considered. So we have 2 copies of Ghost Warriors. This right here is the black version of the Cunning cards. So when you play this, if the turn, for the rest of the game, the turn player will untap an energy, they have to be able to warp 5 cards when they drop. We have Jiren. This is also for the blue matchups and some of the red matchups too, because we got some cheeky players at my logos. I'm being one of them. So this guy says your cards cannot be returned from your hand to your deck. It's a counterplay. It's all part of the counterplay skill. And you also get to draw an additional card. So I've done this against people who just like to roll the dice and see if turning the tide matters. This is also good against Chain Attack Zeno. Kami Global Unifier. This is good against Trunks Cheetah. This is also good against Agents of Destruction and other low to the ground aggro decks where you might need to take a turn off to completely blow up their board. Dark Power Black Mass Sand. A lot of people go, oh, what is that for? It's actually for a bunch of decks, right? So one deck that is good against is like King Piccolo. Another deck is good against is Trunks Cheetah, Turtle School. You can just keep going through tons of decks that this guy is just really savage against, to the point where they can't really play their deck strategy without getting rid of them first, which buys you turns. And if you are buying turns, you're already doing a good job. The Burrow Ritual at hand, we do have some hand control people at the shop, so I brought in a couple of copies of the Burrow. You play Bardock Fully Unleashed. It just gets rid of all the big guys, 6 or greater, on their side of the field. Then we have Shin Noble Supremacy. So this is good against so many decks. A lot of people automatically jump towards the red decks. And then against Green Gold Tanks, which is a deck at my locals, you can play this and just buy yourself a turn. Saiyan Shield Sun Gohan. So this is specifically for SS4, but it is also good against Red Sen as well. So this guy is a counter-attack / counterplay where the counter ability is play this card. He costs all 3 of his energy. He has deflect, so you don't have to worry about them hitting you with Resolve Renewed. And he has an auto where you burst 5, which is kind of steep. But for the turn, if they hit you with double strike, triple strike, or quad strike, you only take 1 damage. Second copy of Mecha. Again, you bring this in against the decks that you want to guarantee that you get your Mecha off with, and if you need a Mecha multiple times within the game. And then lastly, Burning Slash, which is a counter attack that cannot be negated. So that is the side deck and the Z deck. Hopefully you guys give this deck a chance. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. And I'll catch you again next time. This is VG Time signing out.